We're sisters, best friends, and authors on a mission to help you stoke your creative fire and live the life of your dreams. We believe that purpose fuels passion and that creativity is your secret weapon for mass construction. There's never been a better time to bless the world with your dream realized. You're listening to The Kate and Abbie Show. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of The Kate and Abbie Show. Today we're talking about how to make time for writing. Note, I don't say find time because you'll probably never find time for writing. So if you feel like there's never any time to write, you have a packed, busy schedule, you have a lot of other things going on, you feel like you're constantly spinning 1,000 different plates, and you never have time to sit down with your beloved work in progress and actually write and do the thing that you love the most. If that sounds like you, if you can relate, this podcast is for you. Today we're talking about how to carve out that time to write, to be creative, to give yourself the space to create something amazing, and some practical ways that you can actually do that, make that a reality in your life, okay? So we're going to dive into that today, our best tips on making time to write. So if that is something that you need to do, keep listening. Before we get started, we have to thank our sponsors, who are you. That's right, you guys are the ones who support this show and keep it going, and we so appreciate your support. So if you get value out of this podcast, go to patreon.com/The Kate and Abbie Show and help us keep this show alive and free of interruptions. So, what is the first thing to do when you need to make time for writing and you feel like you have no time? Go.
I think examine what the heck you're doing with your schedule. And I feel like you probably have better advice on this because you're so good at time management, and I'm still a noob in that area. But like, actually examine, what do you have going on in your day-to-day life and what is actually important, because some of the things on that list might not be important. Sometimes we end up doing things perpetually that we don't need to be doing. Yeah. Or, squandering time that we didn't even realize was being squandered because we could we could move that and that's more efficient, and boom, now I have this time to do that. But we can't even figure out what the layouts of our schedules are until we actually figure out what the layouts of our schedules are.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know. Like, if you're, like you said, if you're not like super into time management, then you probably don't know how you're spending every minute of every day, And once you pull back and you're like, okay, I'm going to observe this for a little while, even just tracking it, like, you don't have to try to be like have all the ideal habits and try to be the perfect version of yourself. You can just like observe what is it I currently do, because that's like the most useful thing. Observe what is it I currently do and track that and see how much time all of those things actually take you. And some of those things you might need to continue to do. So most of them you're going to probably have to continue to do because you have responsibilities that you need to fulfill. But a lot of time we don't realize is slipping away from us because it's like the in-between time where we have like a few minutes here and there. Oh, I have an hour or whatever. You don't realize that those are the moments that kind of get stolen from you in a way because you haven't given them to something.
The like moments that where, maybe you're browsing the internet or on YouTube, and that turns into like 25 minutes. Okay, well, 25 minutes is significant.
Yeah. And add that up to another 25 minutes probably later on that you do the same thing. Now you have like an hour of writing time that was lost, So the first thing to do, I think, is be honest with yourself about where you're spending your time. And that begins with tracking it, and being aware of, and it doesn't have to be like written down in an actual tracker. I mean, you could do that if that's your thing, but just paying attention to, okay, how long have I been doing this? Whether it's YouTube videos or whatever, or scrolling Instagram or doing anything else that's not necessary. How much time do you really spend on that? And what value do you place on those things? Because you are hopefully placing more value on your writing. And if not, you should. Because if that's valuable to you, if that's important to you, then you should be placing high value on writing time, on writing in general. And those other things, if you put them side by side on a table and had to choose one, okay, you can watch 3 vlogs about, people's lives that don't affect you, or you can write for an hour. Which one do you choose? I think objectively looking at your schedule as a writer, you're like, well, I want the writing time. Of course, I want writing time. And those are decisions that you make every day. And a lot of these decisions we make without even knowing that we're making a decision. Indecision is a decision. And I find that those moments of indecision are the most precious moments that slip away. And they slip away from me as well a lot of times. I will find myself like kind of in a limbo state of like in between things, and I'm like, I can't decide what to do because there's like a bunch of things I could do. And those are like the most crucial moments that I feel like I should have like thought about this ahead of time and like chosen something, because I always feel so much better when I've like chosen something, even if it's choosing just to relax and read or whatever. Like being able to choose that ahead of time and then like commit to that decision feels so much better than being in this state of like indecision when you have free time or whatever. But I'm getting off on a bunny trail.
No, that's totally true. Even if you don't get a lot of writing done and you just are like, you know what, this is my dedicated writing time. I'm taking the next 25 minutes. I'm not doing anything except writing. Even if you only write a few paragraphs, eventually it will turn into more. It might take you a while to get used to, okay, I get in the writing zone now. But if you do it repetitively over and over again, it's the same with like meditation. The first few times I meditated, it felt like I'm sitting here trying not to think, and this is really annoying. The first 10 times, 20 times, whatever. And then eventually you're like, you know what? I feel really relaxed right now. Oh, you know what? This is really nourishing right now. It takes time to sink into a routine like that, but that shouldn't deter you the first several times, the first 10, 12, 15, 20 times. Let yourself settle into the routine. Most likely it won't even take that long. They say it takes 30 days to form a habit. Yeah. So during that 30 days of habit forming, there might be times when you don't really feel like doing it. You know what I mean? Or when it's like you don't seem to accomplish a lot. But like you said, having that designated time when you're actually sitting down and writing, doing the act of writing, participating is better than, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I'm not meant to do that. You know what? Oh, this just isn't working out.
Right.
You'd be better off just write 3 paragraphs. And then at least you know that you showed up and you honored yourself, you honored your craft and the time you had to do it, the time you set aside, you honored your decision. And that tells yourself internally, hey, the decisions we make are important, and we go out of our way to make sure that we are keeping the promise we made to ourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
So it does good psychological and spiritual things. It's a good affirmation to yourself.
Yeah. And it also builds new habits with your impulses. And that's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, is how, what is the thing that you go to when you have free time or you're bored or you want to be entertained? Like we were talking about a couple of episodes ago, about making writing something you love, falling in love with your character. I think that was the one we were talking about this. Is I said something about, when did writing become something that's not entertaining to you? And I think part of building that relationship with your writing is by making that like the trigger, like impulse decision that you go to open your document and you just write something, or you experiment with writing maybe a new project when you're bored, and building that as like, this is my impulse thing that I go to for like entertainment, for some kind of like satisfaction. Like, I'm bored, I have nothing to do, I'm in this limbo indecision state, or I have free time. Like, I'm not going to open YouTube, I'm not going to scroll Instagram, I'm going to open a Word document and write something. And the more you like build that pattern of, this is what I do when I have free time, or this is what I do when I have a moment where nothing's going on, or even I'm bored.
Right.
The more you build that pattern, the more your brain will produce ideas and creativity. Like I find that the more I use my creativity, the more there is. It's not like it's used up. The more distractions I introduce into my life, the less creative I feel. And I feel like a lot of writers feel that way. And a lot of us don't even know that's why we feel uncreative, is because there's a lot of other things taking up mental space. Actually, it was the digital minimalism one that we were talking about, which was a couple of episodes ago. But yeah, in that episode, we talked about how other things are taking up your time and taking up your creativity. And so being honest with yourself about where am I spending this time? Where are all these minutes adding up? And what do they add up to at the end of the day? What do I have to show for it? Do I feel better at the end of the day because I spent my time on these things? Or do I feel maybe more creatively dull and less energized and less creative and less inspired? If that's the case, then I think it's time to make a list of those things that you spend your time on and choose what you let go of. Let go of the things that are no longer serving you. What are those things? Can you let go of some of those things or greatly reduce those things, the time you spend on those things? And once you let go of them or greatly reduce the time you spend on them, you will be amazed by how much time and space and energy you have left over to spend on your art. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to decide how bad you want it. How bad do you want to write this? How bad do you want to finish this book, to be participating in this writing project, whatever it is? What does it mean to you? What is it worth to you? How does it add value to your life? Even write these things down or just reason them out in your mind. Get that straight and then stick to it. Figure out what it means to you. Don't let that be ambiguous in your mind. Figure out what it means to you. And if it means a lot to you, if you want it badly enough, you'll make time for it. Yeah. Like, it's really as simple as that. The things that we want more than anything, we'll make time for.
Yeah.
And so be honest with yourself about that. Figure that out. And let go of the things that are getting in the way. Let go of the things that you're like, you know what? Okay, writing really means something to me. All right. What about this other thing? Not as much. Okay, the YouTube videos don't mean as much. Okay, the time we're wasting on social media doesn't mean as much. Okay, the time that we're wasting doing something else doesn't mean as much. Then let go of that thing. All it takes is discipline. All it takes is discipline of yourself to make the decision to let go of the things that are not serving you, are not bringing you closer to your goals, are not honoring that thing that you really do truly love. You are the referee here. You have to call yourself out on, hey, you know what? I'm wasting time here. And you have to really be brutally honest with yourself, or else you're not going to get anything done.
Yeah, so
and
true.
I say that from brutal experience.
Yeah, same. That's so true. And discipline is not magic. It's not like there's no secret recipe for it. It's literally as simple as it looks, which is that you have to do the thing, whatever the thing is, just do it. Like, don't talk about it, don't think about it, don't overthink it, just do it. I want to write
every day, then write every day.
Write every day.
And I don't even care how long you write for. Just make a habit of, okay, I'm going to do this every single day.
Right, because that's when, at that point, you're prioritizing your writing. And that's the most important thing that you can do in order to get something done. Like you were saying, you don't want it badly enough if you're not actually spending time doing it. And you see that with anybody who does something because they're passionate about it. They're making time for it and they become a master at that thing because they're passionate about it. They love doing it. I know that there are some things I've put on my lists to do or to learn, and I'm just not super passionate about them, and I could push myself to do them, but I don't, because it never comes as an impulsive feeling of like, I really desire this. I desire to do this. Those things have never been that great of a desire for me. And that's why I've never prioritized them, you know? So I think reconnecting with what are my desires, and also looking at how do I want to feel in the future? And at the end of the year, or the end of the month, whatever is your like time to sit down and reassess. For most people, it's the end of the year. At the end of the year, when I look back at what I did this year, am I going to feel regret that I didn't spend time working on this project, or that I didn't finish the book, or accomplish whatever the goal was with the writing project? And chances are you are going to feel regret if you don't spend the time now. And every moment matters. Like, they all add up. It's not just some big grand action. It's all the little drops on the rock that drill the hole through the rock over time. It's not just the one big action. So at the end of the year, all of those hours that you spent, scrolling Instagram or watching vlogs, that is going to add up to a lot of time. And if you decide right now, I'm not going to spend time doing those mind-numbing activities that steal my creative energy. Instead, I'm going to spend my creative energy and grow it and cultivate it and produce more of it by pouring it into my own thing. And then at the end of the year, I can have something to show for it. And I can say, I'm really proud of this thing that I made. And all of those moments added up to be something really incredible.
Yeah. And I mean, think of it this way. Even if you write one novel page worth of writing, that once a day is 365 pages. And that's a book.
Boom. Mic drop.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so true.
So, okay, how much time does it take you to write that page? Probably not that long.
No.
Probably not as long as it takes us to like scroll through the internet looking at things we don't need to look at. Yes. It's wasting time on social media or something. So you can really, it doesn't have to be this giant amount of time, this huge, massive dedication. It's taking, hey, I'm going to take this 25 minutes and I'm going to do something with it.
Yeah.
I'm going to do something that's actually going to benefit me, that's going to propel me forward into my dream that I hold dear, that I want to manifest in my life.
Yeah. And that's the thing that I think is so cool about writing, about any art really, but with writing, how I've experienced anyway, is that there are so many ways to make time for it. Like, it doesn't have to be like a one size fits all. Oh, you have to write for, 2 hours a day or whatever the case may be, an hour, a page. It could be anything. It could, like you just said, it could be a novel sized page formatted like in a book that's almost like a half of a page in a normal Word document. So it can be literally that small, that simple, or it could be something, a bigger action, a more like daunting goal, but something more challenging. But it doesn't have to be every day. It doesn't have to be like this big action of like every single day. It could be just a season, is what I'm trying to say. Like, if you're moving towards a ambitious goal, like I want to write an entire book, okay? And I want to either make time to write it every day for a year, or make time to write it every day for a month. Like, you can do there are so many different ways that you can make time for writing, is what I'm trying to say. And that's one of the things that I love so much about it, is that we can set these goals, but we can go about executing them in so many different ways. You could write just a little bit every single day, or you could write a lot every single day for a couple weeks or a couple days. It doesn't have to be
right.
You don't have to copy someone else's process.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be every single day. As you're talking, I'm reminded of, like, we've had a lot of comments before, and I know we have a lot of listeners who are parents who have asked, like, oh, I'm busy because I'm raising kids, and so how do I make this happen? These are great tips for that, because it doesn't have to necessarily be like every day always.
Right.
You can figure out a schedule that is tailored to you and your kids and your life. You can solve that problem. It doesn't have to be, well, okay, every day, see, I can't do that. Well, it doesn't have to be necessarily for you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe it's like, oh, well, okay, I know that I'll have free time at this particular hour for this season or for the summer or
Right.
for, the autumn, whatever, or figuring out a time of day.
Yeah.
Okay, I have someone who helps me with this, or my spouse is watching the kids, or a babysitter is helping me out. And so I'm going to take advantage of that time, or they're taking a nap or something like that. And even if it's like, okay, I spend 15 minutes while my kids are taking a nap and I write, so those are things you can do. You can tailor it, even if you're a busy parent. And I call this out specifically just because we've had a lot of comments from parents who are like, hey, I want to figure out how to be able to write my book, but I have kids. And it's figure outable. Everything is figure outable, as
Yes.
you say.
Yes, exactly. It is. That was just making me think of the book Wonder, and the author, I read I think it was the foreword or the afterword, I don't know, it was some little extra bonus material in that book. The author of the book Wonder was talking about how when she wrote that book, she had young kids and she was working all day and then taking care of the kids, and her writing time was after her kids went to bed, she would start writing at 12 a.m. to 3 a.m.
Wow.
every day. And that was her writing time. And that's
amazing.
I don't even know how she slept or functioned, but that is amazing. But you can find those things that work for you. If it works for you, okay, that's sometimes it's difficult to squeeze in that writing time, but it's all about examining your life, your schedule, how it is, and seeing how can I let go of what no longer serves me and embrace my art and my creativity in a new way, that I can produce something really incredible that I can be proud of and that can go out in the world and make a difference and inspire somebody else. So all of those things are so important, I think, to hold up in your mind and remember. And for me personally, one of the things that I've been thinking about a lot lately is I want to take time to just write every day, no pressure, no stress, just focus on writing projects and not focus so much on work. And because I'm self-employed, I have my own business and I can move things around, I've been able to carve out the month of June to do that. And I'm actually doing a virtual writing retreat on my YouTube channel. So that kind of ties into my writing retreat as well. It's a writing retreat that I decided to go on, and I'm like, I might as well do this for my YouTube community as well. That would
So
be
cool.
fun. That'd be fun to involve everybody in it. And so it's going to be a virtual writing retreat on my YouTube channel. So definitely check that out if you haven't seen that already. My channel is youtube.com/AbbieEmmons. And basically I'm going to be doing Write With Me live streams every Wednesday. So they're going to be group writing sessions and then updates every day on my YouTube community. But I chose to do that. And part of me was a little bit hesitant because I'm very productivity minded. I'm oh, this is gonna be it's so difficult for me to not to force myself to not just keep producing videos the same way I always do every week. And I just realized that no, I need this. As a writer, as an artist, I need this month, I need this retreat, I need this time to devote to my writing and to reconnect with my creativity. And honoring those obligations really to yourself, honoring those promises to yourself as an artist, I think are so important. And I admire that so much in other authors that I want to emulate that myself, and make sure that I'm always cultivating my own creativity and keeping that connection strong and not ever letting the pressure to produce and be productive, never letting that steal the joy of creativity.
Yeah.
Right.
We can often stack too many things on top of it. And now our attention gets divided, or maybe, you've become successful in publishing a book and now there's other obligations with that, whatever it is. You have to go back to what is really important to me, what excites me. And like we were saying, prioritize your art.
Prioritize and execute. Mm-hmm. That's the way to get something done.
Yep, 100% true.
So Yeah, I think we covered a lot in this episode about making time for writing. To recap, be honest with yourself about where you're spending your time. Let go of what no longer serves you or greatly reduce the time you spend on those things. Make time for writing by prioritizing your writing. It is important to you. Remind yourself why it's important to you and think about, visualize the feeling of accomplishing your goals in your writing. What would that feel like? Where do you want to be at the end of the year? Hold that in your mind and let that drive you forward. And even if it's just for a season, just for a month, devote yourself to your writing and your art because it is so important to you. And there are so many different ways to do that. It's really personal and it really is dependent upon your own lifestyle and your own experience. So take the time to learn and figure out, how can I make this time? How can I create this space to create in my life? And that will be different for everybody. So definitely take the time to do that. And hopefully this podcast has given you some ideas of how to move forward in that direction of growth and creativity. I hope it has inspired you. If so, smash that like button to let us know, or give us a good rating if you're listening on the other podcast platforms. If you haven't seen the YouTube video version of this podcast, go to Kate's channel, which is youtube.com/KAMNs. You can check out all the podcasts in video version, video format over there, and see our faces while we talk at you and give you inspiration. So definitely check that out. And thank you again to our amazing patrons. You guys make this show possible. So if you get value out of this podcast, go to patreon.com/The Kate and Abbie Show and help us keep this show alive and free of interruptions. Until next week,
Stay stoked
and rock on.